Radio, presented by Connecting Hearts Network, connecting women to one another and resources. Now here's your host, Margie Conway.
Hi, I'm Margie Conway with Creative Hearts Studios, and this is the Connecting Hearts Network program. Today we're going to focus on breast cancer awareness and hear a survivor story and some tips from a couple of people who have been there recently. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm sure you've seen the pink all over the place. And some of the ladies at our studio was very creative, and we got involved with an exhibit down at the LaGrange Museum called Blossom for breast cancer awareness. It's where you decorate your bra and bling it up and bring it in, and they're on display there till the end of the month. That was pretty exciting to go down for the reception and see all the different bras that all the different people had made. And I'm pleased to say that our studio contributed 9 to it. So hopefully next year we'll be able to build it a little bit bigger. When we talk about breast cancer, there's, it's a serious side. This is a serious thing, and it's one of the most common things that women have to deal with when it comes to illnesses and things there. There's about 297,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer diagnosed every year in women. And yes, men can get it too. The focus is more on women because the tissue's harder to examine, and so quite often it gets to spread a little bit faster. But my earliest interaction with anyone with breast cancer was my grandmother on my mother's side, back when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. So that's over 40 years, or pretty close to it anyway. And I don't remember too much about my grandmother, but I remember that she had a double mastectomy, and she didn't heal from hers. We lost her when I was 10. But therefore, it has made all the women in our family be more vigilant about keeping check and having our mammograms and doing what we need to do to make sure that, we catch it if it comes, because early detection is always the key with any kind of cancer. And so I, after a scare at one time, had the BRCA gene testing. And this is where they do genetic testing to see if you have BRCA1 or 2 genes, which leads to several types of cancer. And I'm the type of person that would rather know what's coming so I can prepare and deal with it than not. And so several people in my family were not happy I was doing that, because they felt like if it came back that I did, that would be, oh, woe is me, and we're going to catch breast cancer, we're going to die. Well, first of all, having the gene does not make you get breast cancer. But second of all, I'm not that type of person. It's not going to be a, oh, woe is me story. It's going to be, okay, let's research and find out everything we can. So if this does happen, we're in the best physical condition and can fight it off, because, as I've already said, early detection is the key. My test came back negative, which relieved the people in my family, and, me too. So that doesn't totally eliminate breast cancer and other things, but it does greatly decrease the chances. And there are a lot of things that make it you a higher risk for getting cancer. It says that about 43,000 women die every year from breast cancer. And, that is really sad. I've known 5 in my extended circle over the last year or so, and they have all so far beat it and are doing well. So we want to, praise the medical field and these women for doing what they needed to do. Overall, a woman has about a 13% chance of getting some type of cancer, and it's a 1 in 8 that it would be breast cancer. So I pulled up these statistics to read to you, and right now they're not really telling me what I want to tell you. So we're going to rely on that I have talked to or later. Some tips to help you avoid breast cancer is to maintain a healthy weight. And the big reason about that, especially in postmenopausal, which some of us are at, is the tissue thickness. If the tissue's dense and it's hard to see through at a mammogram, then things are going to slip by that's not going to get caught. But there's several different ways of checking, so we're going to go into that in just a second. But maintaining a healthy weight will also help you be able to fight off anything and better endure any treatment should you need that. To eat a healthy diet, we're supposed to eat a lot of our green leafy vegetables to keep us healthy in many ways. And we need to get somebody on talking about how to prepare all that stuff so that we do want to eat it. Quit smoking. That's always one of the things they tell you to make sure that you do if you have cancer. If you want to prevent cancer. I suggest you quit smoking just because we shouldn't be smoking. It's very bad for our health and for the health of those around us. Consider breastfeeding. I was reading this, and it says that breastfeeding reduces the chances of getting breast cancer by a large number. And so it's also very beneficial to our children to be able to breastfeed them. And so, I would make that suggestion if you have a baby to consider breastfeeding. Limit your alcohol, take your vitamins. And then our two most important things that I'm going to point out as we talk about the story of two friends of ours lately. One is do your self-exam. Women are encouraged to do self-exams, and they know what I'm talking about. And if they don't, then I'm sure you can reach out and we can find somebody to help you learn how to do it. But self-examination for breast cancer is very important. You are recommended to do it at least once a month, and there are all kinds of videos and everything that will tell you how you can do it. So you are, you know yourself better than anybody. So you do that. It says typically try like the 1st or 15th day of the month so you don't forget it. And it says why mammograms can help you detect cancer before you feel a lump. Breast exams help you be familiar with how your breasts normally look and feel. So if you notice any changes, such as a new lump, a sore spot, or changes in the appearance of the skin or a discharge, you know to contact the doctor. And one of my dear family members detected their breast cancer this way. She found a lump that had not been there before. And so because of her family risk with her mother having had breast cancer, she went straight to her doctor. And sure enough, when they caught it, they were able to treat it. She had to go through some radiation and some things to make sure that they got all the material, because as I was reading up on this, even the most skilled surgeon cannot get all the breast material out. So you want to make sure that you have someone you're confident in and that they do the best that they can. So she found hers by self-examination, and her story is she wants to tell everybody to make sure you are regularly doing your self-examination. Because, they come up out of nowhere, and the sooner you can find it, the sooner it can be dealt with. The next one is to do the mammogram. Mammograms, we don't like them. They're no fun. They hurt. We don't want to do a mammogram. But they're very important that you do a mammogram. The second friend of ours who's very dear to me has her mammogram on a regular basis because of her family history, and they found a small lump about a year ago. So they recommended her come back in 6 months, and she did, and it really hadn't grown or done anything that made them be concerned. So they recommended she come back 6 months later. So she made sure she came back 6 months later, and the lump had grown, and they went in and took it out, and it was, early stage 1 of breast cancer. But the earlier you catch it, the more that they can treat it. So they were able to treat her breast cancer with radiation. She is now cancer-free, but she is going to keep a checkup and keep, making sure that there's no more. Now, there's different ways that symptoms that you can notice. Ones would be a new lump in your breast or under your armpit, thickening or swelling of the breast, irritation or dimpling of the skin, red, flaky skin around the nipple area, or pulling the nipple pain. Yes, I said nipple on the air. It's important that you know your body, ladies, and this is something you have to pay attention of. So please make sure that you're doing your self exams and that you're going and getting your mammograms so that you are not one of the statistics that we read. So we don't want to read statistics that you're going to end up in that circle of breast cancer. The preventative things nowadays include having a mastectomy, and then they rebuild the breast tissue and work on that so that you don't have that diseased tissue in you anymore, or the chances of having it. Now, that's a really big decision. And why is that a big decision? Because that leads women, that's part of our femininity, you know, that's part of the nurturing for having your babies to breastfeed them. That's part of your sexuality. That's part of a lot of who we identify that we are. And so it's very difficult for women to be able to make choices like that. But you want to make those choices early so that it doesn't get worse as you go along. They can do so much now that they couldn't do back when my granny was alive. When my granny was alive, unless you were super rich and you had a mastectomy, you got a padded bra with inserts in it that made it look like you had breasts when you didn't. And so I remember, it's strange, odd, but I remember her bras because they were so odd to me when you looked at them with all the pads in them and things. I also had an aunt who had a single mastectomy on one side, and they built it back up, and you couldn't tell it. Nobody knew the difference except her and her husband and her doctor. So it's, you know, personal decisions when you get to a certain point. But as we go through our life, you know, we have to battle many things, and the more you can eliminate off your plate, the better you are. And no, that's not me telling you to go out and have a mastectomy. That's me telling you to be on guard to protect your health the best way that you can. Now I have a friend or two that I want you to listen to parts of their story, and they are going to share with you how they found their cancer. And then we have April. April is a miracle story, and we did have her story on last year, but it's such an inspirational that we're giving it to you this year for you to hear how she's overcome and become treatment free. And hers was a generational cancer. Her mother also had breast cancer, but her sister doesn't, so you never know where it's going to land. And I'm thankful for doctors who prepare ahead of time, and for those that you know, will go take advantage of their doctor's intellectual knowledge and all the procedures and everything that they can do now that they couldn't do all those years ago. We have one friend who is dealing with a double mastectomy now and her cancer surgery. And the one thing that is helping her get through is her circle of support. It is very important that you have a circle of support. I know that the Cancer Treatment Center, and now also, which is now CD Hope, and the other treatment centers for cancer around here provide a lot of support for those going through the cancer. My one friend who went through it through the summer mostly, has been given access to a lot of support programs that she can do. Some of them are to support because, you know, physical appearance is important to us, and some of it is to support how you can maintain that or even, you know, improve it. And one thing we learned even from Leilani last week and our jewelry friend Cindy is sometimes we just need to dress up and look the part, and then that helps us get through just a little bit longer. But your circle of support can come in. They can pray for you, which is the most important thing, because that will do wonders. There are miracles that can happen through prayer, and knowing that somebody's praying for you, I have felt that before. I went to go have a surgery and I asked people to pray, and I had been very concerned about that surgery, but at the time I asked them to start praying, it's like a peace just comes over you, because God's got it. And one way or another, it doesn't matter what the turnout is on our end of it, God's still got a hold of it, and He can carry you through it, and He will take care of you. But having a circle of support down here is nice. Your friends can offer to help you with food, just to give you a shoulder and an ear when you need it. And that's one thing that we try to do, is to bring a community of women together, that so you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, you have somebody there as a support system. If you need a support system, you can reach out to the studio. We are now on Bullsboro Drive, and we weren't meeting as much through the summer. We're trying to pick things up a little bit more, but as the holidays go on, it gets a little difficult. But you reach out, and we provide support, for people that just need a little bit of it. So I hope that you'll listen to what's coming up, and that you will make your health a priority, that you will be concerned about, so concerned about your self-examinations and your mammograms, that if you ever have to experience cancer, it will be at the 0 stage and they can take care of it quickly. So listen in as we welcome April Guest Fowler to tell us her story. In this program, we have a breast cancer survivor that has an awesome story that I want her to share with you. I'm sure you will be inspired by and touched. We thank you for listening in to what we've had going on. I'm going to let you know up front, I've had this sinus thing go on, so if you hear coughing, sorry, I'm trying really hard. But today we have April Guest Fowler. April came to our youth group at our church way back when my daughter was in there. So a long time ago. I'm sitting here telling her I remember when she was 11, and now her daughter's 11. April's mom and dad are very active at our church, and so I'm sure that's going to come out a little bit in her story with some of the questions we'll ask. But thank you, April, for coming in and sharing your story today.
Well, thank you for having me.
April, when I realized it was breast cancer awareness, and I was like, okay, I need somebody to share their story, because even though I love sharing businesses in the area and all the nonprofits in the area and stuff, I really love overcomer stories. That's the ones that inspire everybody and get them into action, so they do form nonprofits and do things they do. But April's breast cancer story has a few twists in it that not all of them do, and I know I've been following it all on Facebook and through your mom, but like I said, my head's a little fuzzy today. You've just gotten clear 1 year? Is that what
I've been in remission for almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years.
Yes.
See, I'm way behind on things. But I'm going to let April tell a little bit of her story. But first, April, tell us a little bit about you and your background and what you do.
Well, me, as Miss Margie said, I grew up at Westside with Margie. Grew up, moved out, did on my own, went to college. I am actually a nurse in a hospital in Carrollton. I work on a medical oncology floor, and I stuck with it throughout my diagnosis. I felt like that was the place I needed to be. My manager at the time actually asked me if I needed to transfer just because everything that was going on, and I was like, you know what, I feel like I need to be here with these people because I understand what they're going through. But I'm married. I have 3 children, 3 daughters. That's a little on the rough side. There's a lot of drama going on. I feel sorry for my husband. He's in a house full of women.
Oh, yeah.
But he's managing. He's still alive. So
yeah, it seems like he's managing well a couple of times I've seen him.
Yep. But it was definitely a big, not something you would expect.
Well, let's start from the beginning. Tell us about your diagnosis.
Well, I actually went to the gynecologist just for my yearly exam. I told her I was having a little bit of pain in my armpit, and being a nurse, I push and pull on people, and I thought, well, maybe I strained a muscle, but I was going to say something to her, and it just so happened that this pain popped up like maybe a couple of days before my appointment. So I told her about it. She did her exam, and she said, I don't feel anything, but because your mom had breast cancer, we're just going to do a mammogram just to be safe. And it's funny, after I left that appointment, I don't remember feeling that pain in my armpit anymore. It was almost like that pain was there specifically just right at that doctor's appointment.
Right.
I went and had my mammogram. I think being in the medical field, I can kind of sense when somebody else sees something that's not good. And I got that feeling from the technician. After the mammogram, she immediately wanted to do an ultrasound. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that was normal. And then after the ultrasound, the doctor walked in and he said, there is a spot that you need to have biopsied. Mm-hmm. And cancer really didn't cross my mind because I know there's other things it could be. So I was like, it may just be a cyst, so I'm not going to get worried about it. Had the biopsy. I was getting ready for work one evening because I work night shift. When I got the phone call that the doctor told me, he said, I'm sorry, but it's malignant. You have breast cancer. And I just sat there. I didn't cry. I didn't do anything. And my words to him were, well, that sucks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I finished getting ready, and I went to work.
Yeah.
My husband had already gone to work. I called him after I got off the phone with the doctor and let him know. And he also works night shift, so at the time, 2 daughters were at my mom's house spending the night. So when I went over there and broke the news to her, I dreaded telling her because I knew she was going to think it was her fault.
Oh, I've talked to her specifically, and yes, she did. I understand that from being a mom, and you do too.
And I told you I was going to cry.
That's okay, honey.
And when I told her, she just started crying, and she was like, I wish it was me.
Oh, yeah. We are all that way with our kids. You are too, and as we go in our story, I know you're going to say that with yours.
Oh, yes. But I went on, I opted for a double mastectomy because I was 33 when I was diagnosed. Right. I knew that I had a greater chance of breast cancer coming back in the opposite breast the older I got. And I was like, I'm only 33. I plan on having a lot of time. So I didn't want to take that chance. So I went with the double mastectomy.
I was sitting out there in the waiting room that day. I can tell you, April does have a lot of family support. Her mom and family, people from our church, and people that's known her for years, like Vicki, as well as her husband and his family, was all out there that day. Yeah.
Yep. So we did that. I went home. I stayed a few days in the hospital and went home looking like an octopus because I had 6 drains.
Oh, goodness.
But after I had all my drains removed, it probably took about 3 weeks. I went back to have my port placed for chemo. So, again, 33 years old, so they always have to do a pregnancy test.
Right.
So I didn't think anything of it. The nurse come back to the room, and she just looked at me, and she said, honey, your test came back positive twice. And I was like, no, it's wrong. You better draw some blood. She was like, oh, we are.
Yeah.
So they drew blood, and then they brought my husband back, and she just stood there and looked at me like, are you going to say something to him? And he was like, what's going on? And I was like, they're trying to tell me I'm pregnant. And he's like, did they draw blood?
They're from a medical family, guys.
I was like, yes. So it was probably about an hour, and the doctor walked in, and he said, no port today. You're pregnant. Yeah. I started crying. It was not a happy cry.
Yeah.
And I told my husband, I looked over at him, I said, this is all your fault. And the doctor looked at me, he's like, well, partially his fault. So I didn't get my port. Instead, I went and made an appointment with my oncologist, like, what do I do now?
Right, because that's big decisions.
Yes,
right.
I honestly thought he was going to say, well, you need to have an abortion.
Right.
Or, one of us or both of us are going to die.
I remember those conversations because we were praying ardently for you over at the church, yeah.
Well, abortion never came across his mouth.
Good for him.
I did ask. I said, well, this was March when I found out I was pregnant, and baby was not due until November. So I had quite a bit of time. And I asked him, I was like, well, can I do chemo after baby is born? And he looked at me. He said, I do not advise that. He said, you probably will not be here. Or almost gone at that point, because the type of cancer I had, it was aggressive. So he said, I was like, well, I can't leave my husband with 3 children. That's just, I can't do that. So he said I was supposed to be on 2 chemos. One of them, I had to wait until baby was born. But the first one, he said, you need to go ahead and start this one. It's just going to have to be in your 2nd trimester. And I was like, okay. So I started that. one of my coworkers actually gave me a little pink cross. So I took it with me every time to chemo, and I just laid it across my belly and just prayed that it wouldn't hurt my baby.
Yeah. What did they give you any indication of what it could do to the baby or what to expect?
I was told second trimester because all the organs would already be formed in the first trimester. And I trusted my oncologist. It made me a little nervous that I was only his third pregnant cancer patient. Well, it's better than being the first. But
that's true, but it's not that common either.
No, it is not. But he said the other two women had no pregnancy or child complications, so that made me feel a little bit better. But he also gave me stuff where I could read and research myself, so I really like him. So of course I was high risk pregnancy, so I saw my regular obstetrician and then a high risk. So I was about 18 weeks, and I went to my regular OB just for a regular checkup, and that was about that time they went ahead and did just an ultrasound.
Right.
And that ultrasound tech she was very quiet. You know, usually they're like, well, here's head, here's this, here's that. She was very quiet, and it didn't set right with me.
Right.
So she got finished. She put me in a room, and I waited a very long time on the doctor. I never had waited that long before. And when she came back, she said, it looks like baby only has 2 chambers in the heart, and you're supposed to have 4. So I had not cried my entire cancer journey, but I cried then because it had to do with that baby.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, 2 chambers, this child is going to die. And the only reason why she's not dead is because I'm keeping her alive. So we ended up having to go to Eggleston in Atlanta, which is an awesome hospital. And they confirmed everything. We were given 2 choices. They said you can either abort now, or you can have baby and do nothing, and baby will live maybe a week.
Right.
Or you have a series of 3 surgeries that you can go through. They said, but of course it's a lot because they're all open heart surgeries. They're basically almost rearranging.
Right.
Which is very scary, but, I said, we're definitely not going to abort because this baby wasn't supposed to be here to begin with.
Right.
So we did the surgeries, and she is going to be 3 next month.
Yeah.
But she's already had 3 surgeries, and you would not know it by looking at her. But I had to start my second chemo pretty soon after she was born. So my treatment just got prolonged. But I had to have fun with some of those nurses at the hospital in Atlanta because they would be like, well, Mom, I don't have another apron to protect you from this x-ray. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I've already got cancer. You're not going to hurt me. I'll be okay. Yeah. And they're just looking at me like, oh, my goodness, is she for real?
Yeah.
But I have to laugh to keep from crying. Right. That's what I would have to do.
Right.
And again, my treatment got prolonged. My reconstructive surgery got prolonged because I had to make sure baby was okay.
Oh, yeah.
And between the 2 of us, we racked up probably about $1 million in medical bills. And we hardly had to pay any of it. I don't know how we managed that. I think the people at the hospital, we had people that would give us money.
Right.
And then my manager at the time, obviously I was off of work, and I was worried about having enough time where I could still get a paycheck, and she took care of me. She was the best.
Good.
She was the best. So I never went without a paycheck, and but for a while I was mad. I was very mad. I thought, you know what, I can handle cancer. That's no big deal. I got this. And I thought because of everything I was going through, God was going to take care of my baby. And I felt like he didn't. I felt like he failed me. But then it was probably her second surgery when she was about 6 months old.
Right.
When it was just the 2 of us sitting in her hospital room. And I was just going back and thinking about everything. I had asked the surgeon on my very first surgery if he could go ahead and place the port so I didn't have to come back. And he said, you got too much going on. That's probably not a good idea.
Right.
Had he placed that port that day, it had been even longer before I figured out I was pregnant, and I would have already started chemo.
That's
Every
true.
baby definitely would not be here.
That's
so
true.
It's like, well, maybe that was God telling that surgeon it wasn't the right time.
Yeah, he has moved a lot in your story. I mean, we've seen it in many ways, and being mad at God is something that's okay. You can read about it all through the Bible with David and Job and everybody else, but he always comes through.
It took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
It took me a while. Sometimes I still get upset. I feel like it's my fault because of what happened to her, because when I had my double mastectomy, I was pregnant.
Right.
It was just too early for that hospital's pregnancy test to show up, is what I'm guessing, because it was early. So I feel like all that medicine, anesthesia, antibiotics, all of that had to do something. Even though the big doctors in Atlanta said no, it had nothing to do with it. I still feel like it's my fault.
Well, and I understand that. I have some moms close to me that feels like things with their kids is their fault, and I know your mom felt that way with you too. We mentioned that, a little while ago. We do that with our kids, but you also know if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't be here to be mom to your kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've got 3 lovely girls that needed a mom for that.
And it definitely worries me because I do have 3 daughters.
Right.
It's like, which one is going to get it? Which one? But then everybody tells me, you can't think like that. You can't think like that.
No.
So I know with me being so young, I know when they get older, doctors are going to want them to start getting checked a whole lot sooner.
Well, and that's one thing, if you're offering advice to other people, it's probably going to be get your regular exams.
Get checked, yes. I was talking with some of my co-workers the other day. I just don't want to get a mammogram. It's not, I just don't want to do it. It's like, well, it's not comfortable. It's not fun, but it is life-saving.
Right.
Because had I not gotten mine, there's no telling how long it would have taken for me to actually feel a lump. And with my cancer being aggressive, I may not be here had I not had early detection.
Right. And it's, I know breast cancer ran in my family. I don't remember very much about my mom's mom, except she had a double mastectomy back when I was 10, so that was many years ago. Mm-hmm. So when I got older, I had a little scare, so I did the bright gene testing. And everybody in my family kind of got mad at me for that, because they were like, if you come back, they automatically assumed I'd come back with it. And if you come back with it, then you're really just sitting there waiting to die. And I'm like, no, that allows you to be aggressive in what you do to take care of your body and to be able to fight it better. But luckily mine came back negative, so that helped rule out a lot of them. Yes. But those yearly exams are extremely important, no matter how uncomfortable they are.
Yes, and I see that a lot in my profession. It's unfortunate, but we have a lot of people that just wait, and then it's too late.
Right. And the earlier you catch something, the better they can take care of it. Like you said, yours was very aggressive to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the doctors could not even feel a lump.
Right.
So by the time a lump was felt, I could have been stage 2, stage 3. There's no telling.
Right.
There's no telling. It could have been in both breasts at that time. So I feel like I got lucky, and I feel like that was a little bit of a sign from God. Like, here's some pain so you can ask about it, and then it went away.
Right. I don't know what else that could be.
I don't either, because I don't remember ever hurting myself. It's like, well, maybe that was him.
And one thing I want to point out is I've mentioned April's mom and April's dad, and we've said she went to youth group at our church. Her mom and her dad have very strong faith. He's one of the deacons at our church. I know how April was raised. I know she was raised with a strong faith, and I've seen her testimony. Is it on YouTube now?
It was
on your church page.
On my church page. I don't know.
It may be on YouTube. I'm thinking they did put it there. But anyway, when she did her testimony, I know her faith is strong. I don't know your husband that well because I haven't seen him except in that waiting room. But she got mad at God. We do get mad at God when things happen that we don't understand. Whether it's cancer or COVID or tornadoes or death or anything that happens, we do get mad at God. But it's important to realize that He does have it all under control. And somewhere along the line, we're going to level out and we're going to be a lot better. At this point, are you and baby doing well?
We're good. I'm in complete remission. All I have to do is see my oncologist about every 4 months right now.
Yes.
But as long as my blood work is looking good, he's going to stretch it out and stretch it out and stretch it out. He's like, and then we'll just see each other at Walmart.
I don't go to Walmart. It's too many people.
It is, but I'm good. And the cardiologist said baby girl's doing good. Now she will, the rest of her life, she will have to have small procedures, and it is a possibility she may have to have a heart transplant in the future. But right now she's good. I hope that never happens. I'd rather just deal with the little heart she was given.
Yeah. And we'll keep praying, and you'll take very good care of her and watch carefully. Yeah.
Oh, she is very aware because she's only 2, but she's already lifting her shirt and showing everybody her scar.
Yeah, she's a warrior, just like her mama.
Like, it's cute now, but in a few years we don't need to be lifting our shirt.
Well, that's true. So she better make her some T-shirts that say "Warrior Woman" because she is a warrior woman already.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, she is, and it is. You mentioned that you were working on the cancer ward.
Yes.
I strongly believe that God gives us the stories He does. So, like the Bible says, that we comfort others we have been comforted. And I know that you mentioned that it helped you understand some of the people in the ward and what they were going through.
It does because, last time I worked, I had a patient. He was about to start chemo, and he was like, "I'm just nervous. I'm so nervous." I said, "Well, I understand." I was like, "I do." I said, "But you'll get through it. It's not going to be fun. You're going to feel bad. It's going to happen, but it's temporary."
Oh, yeah.
Is what I have to tell everybody. It is temporary. And I didn't used to tell my testimony to my patients, but when I had one patient who told me, "God gave you this testimony to tell, you better tell whoever will listen." Right. So I did what she said, and I've told anybody who would listen, and I had multiple patients just literally open mouth staring at me as I'm talking to them. And they're like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much for telling me that. You don't realize what this has done, how this has helped me." And a lot of times I don't see them ever again. Sometimes I do see them come back and it's not good. But whenever they tell me, "Thank you so much," you don't realize how much of a blessing that was.
Oh, right.
I think I am the only nurse on my floor that's had cancer. Now, all my other coworkers, they're awesome. They take great care of them. But I think it's a little different when you actually understand.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
When you understand what somebody is going through.
Absolutely.
And just take the time and sit with them and let them speak and you speak. Now, I really don't have time to do that, but it's like, you know what? It's okay.
It's important.
If I'm making them feel better, then it was worth it.
Yeah. And I will tell you that when I approached April about speaking, she was like, "Absolutely." I told God, He gave me this story. I'm going to tell it wherever I can. It's very inspirational. It is very, we make it through these hard times. No matter how rough they seem, we can make it through. Really, the only way I know anybody makes it through is through faith in God. But, a lot of people say they do just fine without it. I personally don't see how they do.
I don't either, but I also had a very awesome family, a very supportive family. I know not everybody has that, and I feel bad for those people, but my husband was awesome.
Yes, he was. I've watched him.
He is awesome. I've had female patients who were diagnosed, and they said, "My husband left me because he doesn't want to deal with what's going to happen."
Yeah.
And it's like, that is just so heartbreaking. It's like when you take those vows, it's for better or for worse in sickness and in health.
Well, I think part of that is probably a faith foundation too, because we take those vows seriously. We kind of had a marriage seminar at the church this weekend, and it was like, you know what? Even on the days I don't love her, I think my fear of God gets into me more than my fear of anything else, and I'm not going anywhere.
Well, I remind him that he's worth more dead than alive too.
Yeah,
so
that works. I've done that with Ricky. We've done that with Ricky a lot of times.
No, but he's awesome. My parents, everybody in my family has just been so supportive. My co-workers it was just awesome to have that huge support system, and I know not everybody does, but I was very blessed.
Yes. And I'll tell you what I tell the girls that come through some of the groups that I do is when you have a story to tell, when you start telling it, it's like you take your power back out of it. It's not ruling you anymore. You turned it around.
Yes.
And so I thank you for sharing your story with us. It's going to reach people that you can't imagine, and I'm sure they'll be encouraged with it, whether they're going through cancer or not, because there's many facets to this story. And most of all, with that precious little one that you have, we keep her in prayer all the time. We love to see updates about her, and we will continue to do so because she is a warrior woman that needs it. Yeah. Do you have any tips or any hints or anything you'd like to say to people before we close?
Well, definitely early detection.
Yes.
So it's not comfortable, it's not fun, but go to the doctor. They won't bite.
It might feel like it, but they don't.
They won't bite. And I know one thing I had to for some reason, whenever I heard battling cancer, that always made me think of, well, battle, that one way or the other, you may live, you may die. And it's like, I always thought of it as, this isn't a battle, this is a knockout.
Right.
That's how I viewed it. And it's like, they didn't even have a chance. People just got to remember, this is just going to be a chapter in their story. It's not going to be their whole story.
That's
just a chapter.
And you telling people that it's temporary means a big deal, because when you're in the middle of the battle, sometimes it feels like that's the whole story.
Yes, and you feel like giving up because you feel bad and you look bad, and it's like, it'll get better.
Yeah, don't give up. Don't give up. Put your faith in God. Learn all that you can. She's talking about she researched. I'm big on research and learning. Learn all that you can. Listen to the people that know what they're doing. Listen to people who have gone through it, and it will all help you go through just a little bit better.
Yep.
Thank you for coming and talking to us today,
April.
Me.
Let's talk about the studio for a few minutes. We don't do that as often as we should. Creative Heart Studios is now at 3 Bullsboro Drive. I try to be there Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, but give me a call or a message before you come. We do have our women's group for Her Journey on Friday mornings, and you can ask more information about that, but I try to keep social media up on it so you will know what it's all about. But then we're also working to form some groups for caregivers who need a little support. We had such a fun time doing the Blossom event that was now on exhibit down in LaGrange, that we have some more events coming up that we want to work with on that. We have trying to get our holiday tea party in the works and stuff. And the studio is just a place that God has helped me design for women to come in and feel a little bit of special, a little bit apart from the rest of the world, just for the time that you're there. We can talk about what you need to talk about. We can forget about it and have a little bit of creative fun. We just like to have people around us. So we do art therapy. We do life coaching. You can come in and we can talk about goals. We can talk about life balance. We can talk about, how to have a more effective quiet time, self-care principles. We're trying to pull up another self-care Saturday where we will talk about winter wellness with our essential oils and our cleaning and things that we've got going on. And we just really want you to come and be a part of it. So look us up on social media. It is under Live Love CHT, Creative Heart Studios. And it's connected to all of the Connecting Hearts stuff, so you'll see it everywhere. And then on other exciting news is I am joining with Holly Whit-Reese from Warrior Defenders. And we are forming a nonprofit called Heart of a Warrior, where we will be able to have workshops for women of all ages to help you become more secure, and be able to protect yourself better, emotionally, psychologically, and physically, just to help get some of these younger women on the right track so they don't have to experience some of the things that Holly and I have, and to help you if you've already been through any type of domestic violence or abuse, to find a healing journey that you can start on, whether it's with us or we direct you to someone else. So we would really like to have you as a part of that. You can look that up as Heart of a Warrior Trainings.org, and we've got the website that we're starting up. There's a little bit on the blog. Our store is up because we have a fundraiser with our logo t-shirts and hoodies and some wonderful bracelets by Torn Pages Ministries. These bracelets are formed in a village, and I'm not going to say where so I don't get it wrong, but they're made out of pages of magazines that have been taken apart and rolled into beads and then brightly varnished so that they will last. And we have some that are purple with crosses on them and variegated without the crosses so that you can get one. And the story behind the Torn Pages bracelets, we have had on before to be able to share that with us. And it is that no matter how many torn pages we have in our life, God can take those and turn them into a masterpiece and make something beautiful out of it. And we know that that is true whether we are going through domestic violence, abuse, breast cancer. God can use all of it for His glory if we turn it over to Him and ask Him to. So this is me asking you to have a little talk with God. Pull out your Bible and read it just a little bit more. Reach out to us at the studio and see if you want to get involved in one of our groups. We will be back to talk to you next week.
You have been tuned in to Heart Radio, presented by Connecting Hearts Network, connecting women to resources and one another. Located at 3 Bullsboro Drive here in Noonan. Tune in next week for another episode of Heart Radio with Margie Conway.
This is Margie from Connecting Hearts Network. I'd like you to take just a moment and listen to Linda Kirkpatrick explain to you what Family Patterns Matters is all about.
Family Patterns Matter works with youth and their families to help overcome barriers that prevent their success. We meet twice a month with mentoring, tutoring, teaching life skills, resilience, gratitude, and kindness. We also bring music and art therapy. Please visit our website at www.familypatternsmatter.org.
Are you looking for that special gift this year for your daughter, sister, mother, grandmother, or best friend? Give the gift of safety and self-defense. Hi, I'm Holly Reese, founder of Warrior Defenders. As a certified tactical self-defense instructor, I specialize in women's self-defense. Classes are weekly, in-person, or schedule a seminar. Online courses are available. You can shop self-defense products and tools on my website, warriordefenders.com. I'm here to help you customize the perfect gifts for the ones you love.
Shopping for insurance doesn't have to be stressful. I'm Christy, owner of Ellsworth Insurance, located here in Noonan, Georgia. We're an independent agency with access to multiple carriers for home, auto, life, health, and commercial insurance. We're your one-stop shop for your insurance needs. www.insurewithellsworth.com, 770-755-7053. We look forward to meeting you soon.
Moving is a big decision. Selling or buying a home in any market, but especially today's, can raise a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Amy with Killingsworth Realty. My husband Todd and I serve the Coweta and local area. Our purpose at our first meeting is to learn your goals, answer questions, and provide resources so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. 678-525-0047 to schedule a free consultation today to discuss your real estate needs. You don't have to do this alone.